Errol Spence says if he didn't take the Terence Crawford fight, it would have killed his legacy. Is that cap or big facts? What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Cardinal Red. But let's talk about it. Alright, y'all. So, the big homie Errol Spence recently put out some information, and he spoke about, of course, the Terence Crawford fight, the upcoming fight, July the 29th, 2023. And I just wanted to give my douche on what the big homie had to say, and is he capping or is he telling some facts?
I've been here before, like, oh yeah, I gotta be on point. Danny Garcia once, Kell Brook, yeah, definitely Kell. He came out and hit me with a strong jab. Kell Brook and Danny Garcia.
All right, so Errol Spence said that he feels like if he didn't accept the Terence Crawford fight, it would have killed his legacy. Is that true? And to keep it short and simple, it's very true. If he would have took that Keith Thurman fight, I think you would have saw a severe backlash when it comes to his pay-per-view sales, when it comes to people talking about his fights, when it comes to, his whole legacy, period. There's no way he could have walked away from 147 pounds without fighting Terence Bud Crawford. It just wasn't going to happen.
People change.
And to be honest with you, that went triple time for Terence Crawford. Not just double, but triple time for Terence Crawford. Because we already saw the effect of how fans reacted to the David Evansian situation. We already saw how fans reacted to when Blue Blood set up and lied to everybody's face and then tried to clean it up when he knew what was going on in the background. And this is what I'm be trying to tell y'all a lot of times about. There's stuff going on behind the scenes of these fights that we as fans won't be privy to, won't have any knowledge of until the fight's either over with and somebody releases it who's salty about the outcome of the fight, or it'll be 10 years later when it don't affect nobody's life, then the information will come out.
Hey, crackhead, get out here.
So, I try to tell people this stuff a lot of times and they just don't want to believe it because it's coming from me. But if it was coming from Dante's Boxing Nation, if it was coming from ES News, if it was coming from any of these other big-time boxing promotional companies or boxing content creators, then it's very believable because they have 1 million followers. So everybody just believes what they're saying.
You gonna do that shit? So he was always willing to do certain things I wouldn't do.
They don't take into account that perhaps ES News gets a check from one of these promotional companies. Perhaps ES News has a personal relationship with Errol Spence or the winner of said fight, whatever that got screwed over. Perhaps Dante Boxing Nation or one of these other, and I'm not having no problem with ES News or Dante Boxing Nation. I'm just saying those because they are big content creators in the boxing space. Nobody would have a problem believing those people because they have the following to back them. But, a lot of these fans don't understand that a lot of times these guys are being paid by these promotional companies behind the scenes. So they have a reason to have a biased opinion. They have a reason to put out certain information. They have a reason for you to want to think a certain way.
Don't pay attention to the distractions, the negative bullshit, and what other people are doing, because none of that shit matters.
Me personally, I ain't making no money off this. And that's just to keep it 100 with y'all. I get a very, very small ad revenue return off my YouTube channel. And I mean extremely small. If I had to compare that to what I actually do in real life, it would be maybe 5% of what I make on a daily basis. And that's what I make for a month. It'll be like 5% of what I make on a daily basis.
You know, a lot of these kids need to recognize it's not about buying all these diamonds, you know, all this jewelry and all these nice cars. Like, cars, that's the worst investment. You know, tell these young guys, especially young boxers, man, save your money, man, you know, trust and other stuff like that, especially you got kids, man, and make sure you're doing the right thing with your money, because this stuff can end.
So, you know, if anybody thinks I need to lie to an audience or lie to people or make up things because it's financially beneficial for me, you really need to rethink how you look at the YouTube space, because it just don't work like that. And, you know, when it goes to what Errol Spence had to say, would this stuff have affected his legacy? Yeah, it definitely would. And once again, that would have been triple time for Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford already tried that with the Blue Blood situation, and it completely backfired on him. And it backfired on Blue Blood in a lot of ways, too. I think he probably now wishes he never put that information out, because he saw fans' reaction when you basically lied to everybody and people started exposing the lie for what it was.
That wasn't karate, that was withdrawal.
You know, nobody wants to be lied to their face. Nobody wants to invest, you know, all this time into a fight, and then when we're this close to making the fight, somebody steps in and completely dismantles the fight for their own financial benefit, and then you turn around and try to lie to your own fans. You turn around and try to lie to your own fans, and it backfires on you, and they turn on you, because that's what people will do when you lie to them. They'll turn on you. So if you think that just because Errol Spence is popular, if he would have went ahead with that Keith Thurman fight, that fans wouldn't have turned on him, and in big droves. Now, not the hardcore Texas, Arlington, Dallas, you know, Fort Worth, all these places down in Texas, those people weren't going to turn on him ever. You know, he can lose this Terence Crawford fight, and those people, for the most part, are still going to rock with him. There's going to be some of them who try to switch over to Crawford and change their opinion at the last minute, but for the majority, those people ain't never going to turn on Errol Spence, and I don't blame them for that. You know, that's their guy, and, you know, the real ones are going to stick around whether Errol Spence is a champion, whether Errol Spence would have fought Keith Thurman, whether Errol Spence loses to Terence Crawford. They're going to stick with their guy. Now, if he would have fought Keith Thurman, best believe there would have been a backlash. There was going to be some consequences for him doing that.
Fuck him up against the wall with handcuffs on and crazy through on the lips.
Terence Crawford, I feel like, because he was already less popular, he didn't really care if fans turned on him. He ain't got no fans anyway.
God, I ain't even do nothing, yo.
And I'm not trying to be comical or funny, but his fans are, you know, the fans in Nebraska, you know. Now, compared to Texas, that's a very small state. So it's not surprising that Errol Spence has 3 times the fan base that Terence Crawford has. You know, look where they come from. You know, it's common sense. So I'm not saying Terence Crawford don't have fans all over the country, but look at that David Evansian fight, and you can see how big his hardcore audience really is. You know, all the people who were at the fight didn't have to buy the fight on pay-per-view, and only like 15,000, 20,000 people actually purchased the fight on pay-per-view. So, you know, his fan base is nowhere near the size of Errol Spence.
Let's save the hookers for the victory party.
And you need those masses of people who you basically lied to about the Errol Spence fight and the information that he put out on Blue Blood Sports TV. You saw how those people turned on you and didn't purchase your fight because you lied to them. So, you know, if Errol Spence would have went ahead with that Keith Thurman fight, it would have been a massive slap into the face of those, you know, masses of people who are not your hardcore fans. And best believe he, even with his big audience, would have gotten pushback. He would have gotten a reaction, and a negative reaction, by going ahead with that Keith Thurman fight. And he knew that. Errol Spence is, you know, people try to say he's punch drunk and all this. You know, that's just how he talks. He's from Texas. He's a country boy from Texas.
And mama,
Don't worry, you raised a gangster. I'm a survivor. You know what I'm talking about?
Got one of the most serious accents I've ever heard. And I didn't know that he has Jamaican blood in him too. So he has a Rasta, a rude boy type of accent to go along with that. He's just amazingly light-skinned. So, you know, you wouldn't think that he actually has that type of lineage in him, but he actually does, according to him. So, you know, if you believe that wouldn't have went against even him, hey man, you dreaming. You know, there's no way that he could have went ahead with that Keith Thurman fight and expected to be the same Errol Spence after that fight. Even if he would have beaten Keith Thurman by umpteen points, who cares? You know, nobody would have cared. Everybody wanted this Terence Crawford fight. This is the fight everybody is willing to invest in. If he would have went ahead with that, not to mention the backlash for him not defending all those titles. You know, some of those titles haven't been defended in almost 2 or 3 years. So the sanctioning bodies would have you know, scolded him for the Keith Thurman fight. The fans would have scolded him for the Keith Thurman fight. You know, boxing analysts would have scolded him for the Keith Thurman fight. So I think he did the smart thing. I think, you know, and I mentioned this in one of my videos last year, that it would be best for both of these guys to sit back and just work out their problems and don't fight nobody else until they fight each other, because it's only going to ruin both of y'all's legacy the more y'all try to pad y'all stats. You know, people ain't having it no more. That goes less for Errol Spence because he had to go through 3 champions to get where he's at. That's commendable, but a Keith Thurman fight isn't acceptable when Terence Crawford is sitting right there waiting to fight you. You know, yeah, you got to capitulate to some of his terms, but he's still sitting there waiting to fight you. Don't fight nobody else. Just work it out and make the fight the fans want to watch.
I know a guy who for $5 will beat you in the hamburger with the 2x4.
Y'all let me know what y'all think about all that down in the comment section below. Is Errol Spence capping, or is that big facts? If he would have fought Keith Thurman, would have been the biggest backlash in boxing history. Hit that like button for me. Share. Subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, but you're more than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. If you want to collabo, feature a product or your channel on my channel, then hit my Gmail. It is a flock of cards at Gmail. And we are
Yeah. Now who's cold as refrigerator doors? Obliterated foes, most chicks and haters know. If not, I spit the player flows, trying to get the major dough, and I can't take it slow. Fast paced, cash chase, you in last place. Either he's in bad shape, I got a glass face. We've been doing it big since we was classmates. Now we grown men in the spot watching ass shake. And I'm on the go. Leave her feeling like she never been born before. Y'all sounding like y'all never touched a microphone before. And you can't clone the flow. He's on the flow. Knocked out, comatose. Who wants some more? Told the chick, hold your tone. I'm on the phone. Yeah, you really don't want no violence. If a picture's worth a stack, I got a photo album. To the haters, how you like me now? Ain't got a deal, still it's about to go down. And he messed around, got the keys to the town, keys to the city, it's about to go down. To the haters, how you like me now? Ain't got a deal, still it's about to go down. And he messed around, got the keys to the town, keys to the city, it's about to go down. Now I don't know about y'all, but I'm all that sick flow, keep a doc on call. When I get in the game, your stock gon' fall. Put me on a sauce, one track, man, I'm gon' ball. Spin bars like rims on tires, with his Tim's on, y'all see him on fire. The chicks like Lewis Key spit raw, but he local, he'll never get that far. Now you might see me in a pitch black car with a 6-pack and big black cigar. Take a play of rat and give it back to ma. Y'all ain't up to my pie. Run with a ma. What I blow come from a jar. If it's drama, come to your job. Lewis Keys, show him something they ain't seen. Get gangs of green off paper scheme. To the haters, how you like me now? Ain't got a deal, still it's about to go down. And he messed around, got the keys to the town, keys to the city, it's about to go down. To the haters, how you like me